Guys. Thank you. Hey, everybody. We got the whole band back together for today. Thank you all for being here. It's always so great when I walk in and I see the drums, and not just one drum, but all the drums. I'm like, all right, let's have church, right? So welcome, everyone. Good morning. My name is Tiffany. I'll be your host for today. If you could silence your cell phones at this time, we would be so happy with that idea. As always, we start every service with an acknowledgement of the native lands that we are on. The Eureka Center for Spiritual Living acknowledges that the land on which we gather is the ancestral territory of the Wiyot peoples. This territory extends to the communities throughout most of Humboldt County, and we honor the Wiyot peoples today. Ho. Thank you. So I want to tell you a brief story, and it's going to sound like it's a dark story, but it's not. It's a happy story, so you just have to wait for the happy part, okay? All right, so many years ago, let's say around 15, I'm not sure, I was at a group in the community, had nothing to do with our philosophy, our denomination, nothing, right? And so I'm sharing in this group, and I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm openly weeping, I'm just in it, right? Having a real Eeyore kind of day. And after that experience, a woman who I sort of knew came up to me and said, look, in a very nice way, it might be good for you to check out the center that I attend. And the place that she went to was the Center for Spiritual Living. And so I started going there, and I went there the entire time I lived in Sacramento until I moved up here and started joining our church and attending here. And after I had been going to the church in Sacramento, actually West Sacramento, for a few years, I had the pleasure of going to this woman's graduation from ministerial school. And so you're in for a treat today, because that woman is our guest speaker today. So she has a very impressive CV. Or curriculum vitae, as they call it in the biz. But I was eager to share my personal experience with SARA as well. She just gets it. And anyway, she's very knowledgeable, she's very smart, and you know how it is when somebody can mix kindness with intellect, and you're like blown away? That's SARA. So anyway, I'm so glad that you are here today. She hosts a podcast called The Conscious Reality Show. She's been a public interest lawyer in Washington, D.C., and also worked in the California legislature. And she's a minister, as I mentioned, at the Centers for Spiritual Living. She's written a book called How to Know What You Know, Recognizing the Real You. And she has recovered and addressed many things in her own life using the principles that we have here. So anyway, I'm just delighted that you're here today, SARA. What a special day that we have because you're here. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the workshop that she's doing in just a moment. Reverend Michele is going to talk about that. Oh, you're not? Okay, cool. All right. And Sarah, we'll talk about that. Okay, yeah. And so anyway, so let's go ahead and kick things off with a song.
Please stand with me. And the band is back. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. moving on. So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You might be scared. Maybe I'm scared too. But here I am, right next to you. So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Thank you so much, Donna. That was great. All right, so we start each week with our opening affirmation. In light of the weather outside, you can either say what's up here, or you can turn to somebody and say, "Good morning, sunshine." We are a welcoming community where the vibration of love lifts us, the wisdom of the ages inspires us, and the science of mind teaching empowers us. Good morning. Thank you, class. All right, so here's the lineup of what's going on this week. So we got a lot going on once again. So I want to highlight a few things for you. All right, so the first thing is coming up this today after the service. It's a 1-hour workshop with Reverend Sarah, who has written a book, and she's going to talk more about this workshop for today during her talk today. Also, our book circle is starting a new book, and there's a couple of things about our book circle that are a little bit unique that I wanted to highlight that are listed on this slide. One is when we gather on Zoom to do the book circle, we read the book in the circle. So I haven't read the book isn't a good reason to not show up, right? And I mean, I haven't read the book is universally the best reason to not show up for a book circle. So yay, team, we figured it out. Also, we do both fiction and nonfiction books in this one, just to spice it up. And then the last thing that's highlighted on here is that the people who are in the circle pick the books, which is really awesome as well. All right. This Friday, For the Love of Writing, is meeting again. This one is in person, and it starts at 11:30 in the morning on Fridays. All right, Louise, do you want to come up real quick? Okay, she's going to pick up the pen.
I probably step on it, trip on it, okay. Okay, we're going to be having a little art get-together here, and the cost is a love offering, so in case, you're saying, well, I really can't afford to come. I don't keep track of who gives what, so anyway, because you don't have to give anything. This is something new, and I love to try it out on you lovely people. I call it grab bag art. You're going to get a bag, and there's going to be something in it. And hopefully you will learn how to look at an object and then draw it. So it's kind of like a really drawing 101, but it's really fun because I'm putting a bunch of stuff in the bag, and even I'm not going to know what bag I give to what person. So it'll just be kind of fun for a little surprise and some nice time doing art. So thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Also, this coming Saturday, the men's group is meeting in the afternoon at 3 o'clock here at the center. Edward is a good person to talk to if you have questions about that group. All right. Not this Sunday, today, but next Sunday, we'll have our next sharing salon in Rio Del. If you were here last week, Carol spoke very eloquently about it. If you have any questions, she is a fantastic resource. There's also a sign-up sheet, excuse me, on the table and a flyer about it. All right. So Earth Day is coming up on Wednesday, the 22nd, and so we are going to go to the park in the evening, bring your dinner, and we are going to celebrate Earth Day. Please note if it rains, it's canceled. So Angelica has invited everyone to stay home and bless the earth if it's raining. But anyway, we'll be in Sequoia Park. We'll be easy to find, and we'll be doing a blessing circle for Mother Earth. All right, our next gratefulness gathering is Saturday, April 25th at 10:30 in person here at the center, and it's David and Lena Nunez that are leading that. Save the date for the plant circle. Lori is coming up to give an update.
I'm speechless. Me? Speechless? Good morning, everybody. Tomorrow is our next planting party, and it's at 1:30, and it's right here in town. I don't give addresses that are going to be on YouTube, but there is a reminder sheet out there for the address if you plan to come. If it's raining at 1 o'clock. If it's actively raining at 1 o'clock, we're going to cancel and try to reschedule. And the other thing I wanted to mention is in the social hall, the windows need to be exposed so that when we do get the plants in here, they'll have the light. So if anyone's interested after this session, whatever we want to call it, thank you, service. This gathering. See, I'm getting all these words. That's why I was going through it in my head. So there is window covering out there, and Amy has given me permission to say that we can pull those down and throw them away except for the garlands. She wants to keep the garlands. So if you are going to help today, save the garlands. They go in the last cabinet on the left, just right outside this door here. So please jump in and help out. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Lori. All right. Yeah. So this is a lid. I've been asked to go off script and talk about lids. We were collecting lids to put them into creating a bench, but we no longer have the ability to do that locally. We'd have to send them back east So we're not collecting lids anymore, which I know is super fun, but we're not going to do that right now. So anyway, if that changes and we find a place that we can do that again, we'll let you know. So anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so back to your normally scheduled programming. Practitioners are available after the service if you would like to speak to someone today. I see Edward is here, Reverend Angelica, and Michele. All right. Our little pantry always needs to be fed. If you have any single serving in particular things that you would like to bring in, next time you go to the store, if you could buy a couple things for that, that would be great. We're doing a really good job of bringing things in and filling up the little pantry. Louise?
Can I just make a comment on that? I was walking the dog the other day and I came by. There were orange peels, there were empty containers, it was all strewn along quite a bit of our lawn. And I'm wondering if it can be secured, maybe a trash barrel would be good to put out there. Maybe someone would use it. The only bags I had with me were Scoopy bags and they were already used, so I couldn't pick the stuff up, but I put it in a little pile and hopefully someone was able to pick that up, but it really was a mess.
Yeah.
So just a suggestion.
Okay.
That might be.
So maybe that's something that could be talked about at a board meeting. Yeah, okay. So thanks for the suggestion, Louise. All right. So our theme for this month is compassion in the new now. And as Scott mentioned, he spent a lot of work on this slide. So if you could see Scott and say, hey, love the slide, I'm sure he would eat that up. All right, our next song, Donna.
We'll be doing this 2 verses. I invite you to take a nice deep breath, settle into your seat. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Blessed are we to be a sanctuary, life expressing sacred truth. Thanksgiving, I remain a living sanctuary for you.
Okay, for our moment of peace today, for those of you that might be new, I'll read a short saying or from a reading that I did, and then we'll have a couple moments of silence, and then Jackson will play some music and we'll do an opening prayer. So if you just allow yourself to settle in to this time, in this place, I have a short reading from the writings of Saint Teresa from the interior castle. And she's talking about it's a closer walk with God, basically. The first thing that needs to happen is for love to be awakened in the soul. Remember, if you want to make progress on the path and ascend to the places you long for, the important thing is not to think too much, but to love much. And so to do whatever best awakens you to love.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to last through our every trial. And in this very room, in this very room,
And in this very room, there is enough love and is enough joy to fill us all and to go out into this world. And I know as we allow this to happen that it makes the world a more welcoming and loving place. And I know as we come together that that feeling is magnified this morning through the words that we get to hear from Reverend SARA. And I know that our hearts are open with this light of spirit that connects us all to all beings. And I allow this service to unfold in its right and perfect way. And so it is.
Is in this very room.
And now, since Tiffany has pretty much introduced Reverend Sarah, I want to welcome her up to the platform.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Tip it just a little bit up. Yeah? Not in my way. So happy to be here this morning. I can already tell what a dynamic and deep and loving community this is just from being here before the service. And also I knew that that would be the case because I know Reverend Angelica, and we have been trying to make this happen, or maybe she's been trying to make this happen for quite a while. Reverend Angelica and I are really compatible, really simpatico in our views and in knowing. We both know, I shouldn't speak for her, and I don't know how she articulates it here, but we both know that God is all there is. And so there's nothing out there called political, which is not God. It's actually all God. There is no separation. And, but what I had forgotten, and Donna reminded me of, is that this center was founded by Reverend Betsy Elliott, who was my mentor as I led my center and Center for Spiritual Living Davis. So the wisdom of her permeated me, and now I'm coming back here from my beloved Angelica, so that is just so neat. And then Tiffany, oh my God, I didn't know you were up here, and that was amazing, and I'd completely forgotten that I dragged you into this mess. So I have a book coming out May 5th, How to Know What You Know, Recognizing the Real You. And I'm telling you that not just because I want to sell books, but because, and yes, you should assume that if you think a comment I'm making might be humorous, you may laugh. I tend to have deadpan. So I remember when I used to teach, a lot of people, when I taught law school, I had to tell the students that on the first day because they were like, is that a joke? Is that a joke? So it probably is. But it has been such a long time coming for me to write this book. Raise a pinky in here if any of you have a book in you that you have not brought forth yet, right? Or maybe raise a pinky if you have brought forth, but you have another one or whatever, right? It takes a long time. It can. Some people are just, you know. And I know Reverend Angelica wrote a book, a beautiful daily reader a while back, that is like so hot that you can't even get a copy of it anymore. But when I was a young public interest lawyer in Washington, D.C., working for Ralph Nader, if some of you remember who he was, I took copious notes, and I wrote a really sprawling, incredibly poorly put together document that I hoped would be a book, and never did anything with it. And then my husband and I, who's also, he's still a public interest advocate, he's an environmental leader in California, clean air advocate, moved, we moved out. We had 2 children. We moved out to Sacramento, California. I'm giving you a little bit of my story as I tell you about book writing. And our beautiful oldest son, at age 9, became suddenly had a horrible nausea that, like your worst day of flu, but without throwing up, that basically didn't go away for more than a week at a time for 9 consecutive years. And he was out of school more than he was in, and it was just horrible. And my advocacy in the world at that time was predominantly, both at the national and then at the state level, working for Medicare for all single-payer health care. And so and on other health issues and health for everybody. And I also was learning a lot about healing myself. I was in recovery from compulsive eating and codependence and vagueness and dishonesty around money. And I was learning to be a practitioner, and I was helping other people heal themselves, and I was working to heal the health system, but I could not heal my son. And we went to over 28 healthcare practitioners, everything from pediatric blankologists to shaman, and nothing worked, right? Nothing worked until it did. Until I'm not going to tell you what it is in order to protect his privacy, but we discovered what the root cause was, and he was able to heal, and he is now healthy and whole and happy and amazing. And so I thought it was interesting, all of that, so I vomited out another manuscript. Manuscript just makes it sound a lot more coherent than it was. It really was just this thing. And I didn't do anything with it. That one I worked a little harder at not doing anything with it, but it didn't really happen. And then, I will say, during that time with our son, while I was healing myself and becoming a practitioner basically to deal with the pain that I had we have 2 children, one of whom was doing great, and so we ignored her largely, and then but she loves us still and still doing great, and then the other one that we were trying to heal, and it turned out that he had to heal himself, which is really true of all of us, right? You can't heal someone else. You heard it here first. But I went to the Center for Spiritual Awareness in West Sacramento, which is affiliated with Centers for Spiritual Living, and in fact had that name before it was Centers for Spiritual Living. That's why it's Center for Spiritual Awareness. Reverend Georgia Prescott started that center. And guest speaker, even though I was constantly getting wisdom and being taught by Reverend Georgia, guest speakers occasionally blew my mind and moved me forward. So I say that just on the off chance that you ever have a guest speaker that does that. So one of them was Terry McBride, who, did you ever have him up here? He went all over the place. He wrote this book, The Hell I Can't, where he told a story of how he was riddled with infection through his entire body. In every, his actual bone marrow was riddled with infection all out through his body as a young man. And he was in religious science and science of mind, and people were coming to the hospital and telling him, just know you're whole, just know you're whole. And he was like, I don't know that. He was so sick. But at some point, either from something someone else told him or just in his own mind, he got, well, what do I know? What do I know? What's the best thing I know? So now sometimes when you're working with spiritual principle, I learned from that talk, the single most important thing to pay attention to is not what you don't know that you wish you knew that you're going to affirm. You can do that. And you can have someone else know something for you that you can't know. But what's the best thing you know? And he knew that he could get a doctor that was incredibly hard to get, that was the only one who did this surgery where you actually surgically go into the bone and remove this infection, and it was incredibly expensive to have those surgeries. And he knew that somehow it would be paid for, and he could get this guy to do it. He didn't know I'm whole, but he knew he could get that to happen. So he concentrated on that and he manifested it. This is the short version. You can read The Hell I Can't if you his book. I'm better at selling other people's books than mine because I'm partly because I don't even physically have mine. It's coming out May 5th. But he did that one surgery at a time. He had to have something like 7 surgeries in order to heal. But then he, instead of being permanently in a wheelchair with a colostomy bag and without the ability to use his manly equipment, which was the thing that really caught his eye at the age of 24, he was walking and handsome and healthy and whole in all ways, right? That caught my attention. So I began to think a lot about what is the best thing I know and what do I know. I began to think about that a lot. Another guest speaker there who's, she wrote Susan Shumsky. It went out of my head when I was writing my notes last night. Wrote a book called Divine Revelation. She taught how to dial into your own inner wisdom, into that part of you that knows and knows that it knows, and to listen to that, right? So those two things go together. What's the best thing you know, and how do you find it, right? Because we don't always necessarily know what the best thing we know is. So eventually I went to ministerial school. Then while I was in ministerial school, I had taken a break from working in advocacy full time because I had to be with our son all the time for a long time, driving him to doctors and shaman and him being out of school. And my husband and I were tired of discussing in the kitchen while we both tried to work full time to save the world, like what's more important, clean air or health, you know? So I was shown to stay home, and my husband kept up that. But I went back to work for the largest union in the state of California, the Service Employees Union, SEIU, and which is a great union, but it was weird because I was in ministerial school and I would be organizing peace meditations at the Capitol, because I lived 10 blocks from the state capitol. And then I would go into our office where we literally had a room called the War Room, where we would swear about politicians and be furious and angry. And then I would go out and I would lead my peace. And then I would come back to the War Room and we're gonna forget those men. So, weird. Yeah, that was weird. And eventually, and then I led my center, and Reverend Betsy led me through leading my center, Center for Spiritual Living in Davis, which was an amazing experience. I did that for 5 years. And then I eventually was dialed into my own wisdom to leave that. I went in to work for the state legislature as the chief of staff for this committee called Arts, Entertainment, Sports, and Tourism, which I thought would be a nice break from war. And turned out that my second boss, my second legislator that chaired the committee, had a very flexible definition of ethics, where she thought that the reason we would change legislation would have to do with what gifts were given to her. And so she didn't take kindly to my observing this to her or talking to all the people in the legislature that I was supposed to talk to and had been trained to talk to. And so we parted company. And fortunately, I had enough recovery and spiritual practice by then to not be angry. I am still very sad on the part of the taxpayers and voters of the state of California that there would be a legislator that would be protected that way, and that I would be the one who had a consequence and not her. that is sad. But I have no anger in my heart or bitterness or resentment as a result of spiritual practice. And I had suddenly time and also some many paid months that did help transition me. And I thought, I'm going to have to write that book. But then I didn't write it. A month would go by, and another month would go by, and another month would go by. And then our daughter, the one that we ignored, we only have one, and who turned out great. That turns out to be a great way to raise children, I do say. Actually, they're both great. And they both took what they took, right? Our daughter said, and she's the one, someone here reminded me this morning, I guess listened to a talk I had written before. She's the one, she's intermittently very skeptical about spiritual work and what I do. And she will begrudgingly call me up once in a while and say, Mom, I have a problem, nothing else is happening, and nothing's working. Can you do one of your stupid prayer things? Sure, honey. I would love to do a stupid prayer thing for you. In fact, we're thinking of changing the name of it to Stupid Prayer Thing. And then one time she was stuck in the airport. She was flying back from Europe. She had been there for a semester during college in Italy, and she was stuck in some situation where they couldn't get her on the plane she was supposed to get on, and she called me up in tears from the airport, and she said, Mom, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's horrible. And I said, well, can you say aloud my favorite prayer? A question to the universe, what else is possible? Can you say that? And she said, no, I'm not going to say that. I'll look like an idiot just standing here saying what else is possible. I said, well, you can pretend you're on the phone with me. No, I'm not going to say that. Okay, well, I don't know. Do you want me to do my stupid prayer thing? And she says, no. I said, do you want me to guide you to your own internal wisdom? She said, no. So, bye, Mom, I love you. Talk to you later. So she gets off, and then she calls me back did you call me or text me? Called me about 10 minutes later. She goes, well, I went up to the counter, and I said to them, they said, there's no plane you can get on. And I said, I wonder what else is possible. And they suddenly go, oh, this is weird. I've got a seat open up on this plane that's leaving right now. You want to get on it? Yes! I'm on the plane, Mom! Your stupid stuff works! And then this same beautiful child, during that time when I wasn't writing the book, and I'm like, have no reason not to, she goes, Mom, you have to write that book you have to write about how to know what you know, because you keep talking about that, but you're not writing it, and you've said you were going to write a book, and you guide me to my own internal wisdom when I let you. You don't try to give me advice. And all my friends have great parents, but their parents try to give them advice. They just tell them what to do, and they don't know how to go within and find out what's theirs to do, and my generation needs this book. So I'm like, okay, I have to write this book. But then I still didn't. And then I got a session with Mark Anthony Lord. Any of you ever heard of him? He was a friend of mine, and he had helped me before as a senior minister and stuff. But I got a session with him, and it turned out he's now channels. I didn't know he channeled, but he's channeling, and his guides are telling him to tell me, you are writing a book about how to know what you know. You are writing it now. You are completing it. It will be published. You have a publisher. You must write this book. And then Mark says, okay, so that's what the guide said. And then he says, you can pay me. I said, what do I owe you? He said, you can pay me whatever you're shown to pay me, it doesn't matter, love offering. So I go within and I'm shown that I have to pay him so much money that I absolutely have to write this book. And so I'm like, what is that number? What does it have to be for me? I am a very prosperous and abundant person. And so it had to be a number that really made was really going to make a dent. And that number was $1,000. So I paid him $1,000, and then I still didn't write the book. But I got a book coach, Dennis Merritt Jones, who you may have heard of, who had written 5 books. He was a minister and published them with like big publishers and stuff. And he coached me. I paid him to coach me. Didn't pay him nearly as much as what I paid Mark, because he didn't ask me for it. And so asked for more, and I got a publisher. It took about a year, and then I wrote the book. And the writing of the book was one of maybe the most beautiful experience of my life spiritually. That being with that material and bringing it forth every day. And every time I would hit a bump in the road on the book, and I would go to any of my mentors or friends, and I would be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know whether I should go this way or that way. And they would go, well, Sarah, isn't the book about dialing into your own internal wisdom? So I go, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I would check it out. And my favorite tool, so the book has 16 traits, 16 different life realities that we deal with, and health, sex, caregiving, life's work, death, all kinds of stuff. The body, separate from health, I can't remember, eating, food and eating, and health separately. And in each chapter, you get to use my 2 most fundamental tools for dialing into my internal wisdom, and you practice those, taking a quiz to see what do you actually know about that for yourself. Like, how much do you actually know? Not like Sarah knows the answers quiz and you have to get them right, but a where are you on this? What is it that you know? So, for example, with health. Some of us are just, even if we're religious scientists or spiritual, I call myself a spiritual scientist because I'm not a science, I'm not interested in the science of religion. I'm interested in the science of spirituality, right? Even if we're spiritual scientists, we may believe that whatever a doctor tells us or suggests or gives us is what's going to heal us, and that's the only thing that's going to heal us, right? That happens. There are people. So that's very important for me to know about myself if it's true. If that's what it is, then I can ask myself questions like, okay, this doctor told me this, and then told me to try that, gave me this diagnosis, told me to try this, but it isn't working. So is there another doctor? Is there another health provider for me? Is that something that is available to me? How do I find that health provider? What else is possible? How is that available to me, right? The more I know, I think we all know more about our bodies than we think we do, and our spirit, what actually serves us. So and then there's all that in-between stuff, right? So there might be some people in this room, I don't need doctors, I don't need any of that, I am just able to heal. And then, that probably means you can, right? Because that's your consciousness, so that you can heal anything. Or if you're like most of us, it's somewhere in between, right? How many, raise your pinky, if it's somewhere in between, like what the doctor says and I can heal myself, and those are both true at the same time for you, right? But checking out those diagnoses, checking out those remedies, checking out what you've been prescribed. Is this does my body know that this is really it for me or not? So one of the tools that I use the most is light or heavy. Is it light or is it heavy? And that was actually a really hard tool for me to learn. So like even when I started practicing with those kinds of tools, and I encourage you to do so, with really mundane kinds of things. Like just because there's a lot less at stake. If you use these kinds of tools after you have, you know, a cancer diagnosis and you're trying to choose between, you know, which form of treatment you do and whether you burn or poison yourself in whatever way, sorry, that's not funny. It's just, that's what it is. That's a hard time to trust. I've found that I need to build up my muscle of trust over, and mundane, low stakes places are a great place to practice knowing what you know and seeing, does that work out for you, right? The high stakes, it's really hard to suddenly do something different. And if you're used to just thinking, researching, in recovery, there are 12 steps, and I learned that figuring it out is not a step. And that's true with all spirituality, right? Figuring it out is not a step. There is we are spiritual beings having a human experience on the human plane. Every one of us is a part of spirit that has come into carnation through us and has access to every amount of knowing at possible through us, and it is available through us, and whether we are actually dialing into that knowing is something else, right? We don't, that's the practice we need. This is a muscle to exercise. I actually think that one of the reasons that AI is, which stands for, if you don't know, artificial intelligence, is why it's taken hold so incredibly quickly in us, is because we're actually pre-programmed to contact an intelligence that is bigger than us and faster than us and can do things. And I call that the authentic intelligence. That is the AI that I am describing in this book and teaching and learning and using for myself. So if you just were trying to figure out, do I go, what do I do with my afternoon? Do I go for a walk, or do I go home, or do I go shopping and do my list of my to-do list, right? And you could just dial in for yourself and say, what will my life feel like in 5 years if I go for a walk, go for a hike, let's say, because it might take more time, or whatever it is for you. It could be a bike ride, could be sitting at the beach or visiting your grandchild or whatever, right? And we put it out 5 years because we have no idea. That takes the thinking out of it. There can be no figuring it out, right, when it's 5 years out. And we call it feeling, not being, just feeling. What will my life feel like in 5 years if I, let's say, go for the walk? Put item A in the decision. And then dial into it. Does it feel light? Does it feel expansive? Does it feel spacious and full of possibility? Or does it feel more constricted and tighter? And then we go to B, choice B, so that could be your to-do list. Does it feel light and expansive? And what will my life be like, feel like rather, in 5 years if I focus on my to-do list this afternoon? Does that feel light and spacious? Or does it feel tight and constricted? And for some of you, this may be the first time you've ever dialed into something like that. Oops. And so it may not resonate for you. It actually didn't resonate for me the first time someone taught me that. That's coming. This tool comes from Access Consciousness, by the way, which I dabble in extensively as a modality. I could not get this at first, light versus heavy, because I was brought up to be a good little girl. And I always did what I should do. I was the girl in high school who everybody else's mom wanted to know, is Sarah driving? Okay, you can go. And that was because Sarah was, I'm driving, so I'm not going to drink, and everybody else is making out in cars, but I'm just going to sit here, and then I'll go around and get them all out of the cars and get them, and I'm going to just do what I should do, and get them home safely. And so I thought, yes, my yes was should, what I should do. And that yes, should feels, it's actually quite heavy. It's really not a light feeling. It's really not a light energy. But a yes is actually spacious and light, I learned. But I had to practice this a bunch of times. I have lots of tools. I only have two major yes-no tools. One is that, and one is a candle flame that can be easier to do. But you would have to come to the workshop to learn that one. And actually, I used light and heavy this week when Reverend Angelica and I were at the Centers for Spiritual Living convention in Reno. One of the practitioner or fellow ministers at my center, the center that I'm a staff minister at now, back at my original home center, Center for Spiritual Awareness, West Sacramento, was giving a workshop. And so I knew that what I should do was go to the workshop. And I mean, I love her. I love all the stuff she's doing. It's not a reflection on her, but I had a feeling of obligation to go to that workshop. And then there was another workshop at the exact same time called Visioning to Heal America. And when I heard that title, I just got flooded with light and energy. I mean, I didn't even have, these days, I do have to sometimes sit down and ask myself these questions, but a lot of times it's just instant because I'm doing it all the time. And it just was like, ah. And I have been shown for over a year to heal visioning, to hold a regular visioning to heal America, and have not been doing it. And as you can tell, I'm shown a lot of things that I don't do. Raise your pinky if you're ever shown what is yours to do and you do not do it. Or your whole hand. I see you. So I'm probably supposed to wrap up, right? I don't know what time it started. Playing me off. They're playing me off. So even though, and I think especially with women, a lot of times we think we have to do the thing, probably men too, but I've only ever been a woman in this lifetime. Although I apparently was a horrible, horrible man in other lifetimes, by the way. I don't even go to consult psychics, but people are always randomly coming up to me and saying, you were a kamikaze pilot, or you were a high level of the Spanish Inquisition. I'm like, thank you so much. I've been told I'm making up for it in this lifetime by being a spiritual scientist, female, and looking into light and heavy. You know, if only the Inquisition had examined what was light and heavy, it might be very different. So I went to the Visioning to Heal America, and it was probably the single best 75-minute workshop I've ever attended. It was just magnificent. And she reminded us in that, reminded implies I knew it before. I don't know that I did. This was a woman, a British woman, a U.S. citizen who was born in Britain and spent years growing up in South Africa, who, when she first went to Washington, D.C. and saw the U.S. Constitution after she was already in Science of Mind and a practitioner, saw that the Declaration of Independence was a treatment, was a spiritual mind treatment. And so I just want all of us to realize that when we dial into what is ours to do, it matters. When we know what we know and recognize the real us inside, recognize the real you, we're able to do and be who we are really here to do and be in this lifetime. And or to change that reality. Like if we've been on one track in this lifetime, we can get off that track and choose a different timeline for ourselves and for America and for the world. I see the news. I do not avoid the news. The news is my prayer request. I see it as part of my obligation as a minister and a practitioner of spiritual science to know the collective reality that is manifesting so that I can take it to prayer, know what else is possible, know the best thing that I believe. It doesn't work for me to la, 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 I don't hear the news. It doesn't work for me to screen it out. I have to process it. I have to bring it into my heart, the darkness, and breathe out light and see the new thing. So today in this workshop, which you can come to, it either is $20 or you buy my book in advance. I actually do not have the actual copies yet, despite promises. And I have a raffle you can enter if you don't have time to come to the workshop, where first prize is autographed copy of my book. Second prize is a How to Know What You Know mini session with me. And third prize, which a lot of people think is the first prize when they hear it, is How to Know What Your Pet Knows, a little session with me. So fill out that raffle for me, even if you aren't coming. Take my card, which has the only electronic website version of buying the book that I'm not currently boycotting on it. And so if you're going to buy it online, buy it from them. You could also promise to buy the book and take the card into your bookstore, and it's widely available. They can order it for you if you'd rather get it from your local bookstore, which is the single best place to buy books, obviously. And so let's take this message into prayer. As we have reminded ourselves today, there is only one power, one mind, one infinite presence, all-knowing, all-loving, all-redeeming, all-delivering, beyond time, beyond space, beyond expectation, beyond limitation, beyond lack, beyond precedent. And this unlimited power is living out its perfect life as me. And as I know that for me, I know that for each and every person in this room and within the sound of my voice, that we are all spiritual beings having a spiritual experience in a human body in a human form, with all the power and the promise and the purpose of the one mind at our disposal, and all the clarity, focus, ease, and grace. And so I speak my word for each person in here to know what they know. To have the courage, if it is in divine order for them, to dial into that wisdom and to act from that wisdom. I speak my word for a revelation of the vision of a world that works for everyone, and living from that vision rather than to that vision. Knowing that every man, woman, child in this country and in the world goes to bed with a full belly and a full heart and a roof over their head and clothes on their back and the ability to communicate and move and be a presence in the world. Knowing that that is true for everyone in this room, I destroy and uncreate any thoughts, beliefs, opinions, any conclusions, any oaths, vows, fealties, communities, swearings, bondings any of us have made in this lifetime or in any lifetime to be less than we are here to be, or to judge others for being how they are, or to think that there is something out there called politics that is separate from us and separate from reality. I know that there is only one power, and it is living out its life, and that all of us are responsible for the vision and being the vision keepers and the vision holders and the vision tenders. And everyone in this room is anointed by their spirit to be all they are here to be. So whatever it takes, God, whatever it takes, what energy, space, and consciousness can we in our bodies be to be all we are here to be, to know all we are here to know, and to act from all of that, and anything that doesn't allow it, I destroy and uncreate it all right now. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. I know that it is good. I know that it is done. I let go, and I let God, and so it is. Amen.
I wanna live and have it be more than a dream. I wanna live and have it mean something. I wanna live and be more than I am. I wanna flow the river. I wanna break down the dam. I've been living underwater. I've been holding my breath. My eyes have been blind. My ears have been deaf. Now I wanna wake up and be all that I can. Jump in the river of life. I wanna break down the dam. I've been living underwater. I've been holding my breath. My eyes have been blind. My ears have been deaf. Now I wanna wake up and be all that I can. Jump in the river of life. I wanna break down the dam. I wanna let it all flow, flow, flow. Let it all flow. Go, go, go. Let it all go. Flow, flow, flow. Let it all go. Flow, flow, flow. Jump in the river of life. I wanna break down the dam. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Seaside.
Thank you so much, Anna. All right, and now it's time for the sharing of our gifts. If you'll join me. I gratefully give from the fullness of my abundance, knowing my gift blesses this center, all in it and beyond, and so it is. On behalf of our center, I gratefully accept these gifts today, knowing that they are given with love and hope and faith that they will be put to the best use in our community. And so it is. Thank you both. All right. Is there someone who would be willing to come up and read our community statement of inclusion? Yes, please. Oops.
Community Statement of Inclusion. We, the Eureka Center for Spiritual Living, are a community that celebrates diversity, fosters inclusion, champions inner work, and creates space for brave, vulnerable conversations. We are a community that honors the unique emanation of God that each person embodies and advocates with people for human rights and dignity for all. We are a community that blesses each other, sees sacredness in all life, remains learners and listeners so that we may grow together, and understands that oneness is not sameness. And all together, we know our beloved community is revealed more fully when we love each other well.
Would you please stand and join me as we sing the peace song? We'll make a circle. The words will be up on the screen if you're not familiar with our version.